Oftentimes with government and media, you gotta watch the other hand. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. What has been one of, if not the biggest story in the mainstream media in the month of April? Dylan Mulvaney and that ridiculous Bud Light commercial. I actually had one of my viewers make an excellent point in the comment section last night here on YouTube. A point that once again proves this collaboration between Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light makes zero business sense. Followers of Dylan Mulvaney, they are mostly confused teenagers. They're kids. Last I checked, kids are not allowed to drink alcohol in this country. In recent years, the federal government, they have cracked down on advertising campaigns from alcohol and vaping companies. They are not allowed to target children with their advertising campaigns. Dylan Mulvaney has a following that consists of aimless teenagers. Bud Light hires him or her to endorse their beer. Would that not be an example of an alcohol company targeting children with their advertising campaign? The truth is, Dylan Mulvaney is being used as a smokescreen. It's an illusion, a distraction from the real issue. Remove the emotion and think about this logically for a second. This collaboration between Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, is it really all that big of a deal? Does it have any real impact on your day-to-day life? The only real impact it might have is pushing you to give up one of the worst tasting beers on the market. Now sure, it's been entertaining watching some of the backlash, watching all this unfold. It's been entertaining watching the different videos of people destroying cans of Bud Light in different methods, but a month from now, this story will be completely forgotten. There is something real happening right now that could have a devastating impact on your life, especially if you have young children or grandchildren, and especially if they're young women. It's kind of silently making its way through. Most of the mainstream media remaining silent. If you Google Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, thousands upon thousands of articles will populate. If you Google the proposed changes to Title IX, or if you Google their chosen spokesperson to push this garbage, 3 articles came up for me this morning. In order to implement radical change, you need a charismatic personality to convince people to follow your lead. Barack Obama, for example. Barack Obama made some horrible changes to this country. The fundamental transformation of America. Back then, very few people were questioning what fundamental transformation meant. I'll give you a hint. The America you're living in today, that is the fundamental transformation Barack Obama was talking about. Millions of people blindly followed Obama because he was likable, he was charismatic, he was relatable. Barack Obama was one of the best public speakers that I've ever seen. Bill Clinton, he was the same way. I know someone who met Bill Clinton before. He met him in the late 90s. He said when Bill Clinton walked into the room, you could feel the environment, the atmosphere, the air change. He had a way of speaking to you personally that made you feel like you were the only person in the room, the only person that mattered. These are the types of people that are needed if you want to implement radical change with minimal backlash. Now, I'm not saying they have to be presidents, but you get the point. Now, who has been chosen to persuade America to accept these radical changes to Title IX? Lia Thomas. Lia Thomas? Lia Thomas has the personality of a dried cucumber. Lia Thomas could not convince Don Lemon to march in the Gay Pride Parade. What in the hell would make anyone think Lia Thomas could convince parents to endorse transgender involvement in youth sports? Right now, Joe Biden and his fake vice president, they are pushing legislation that would ban individual states from outlawing identifier participation in youth sports. It's strange though. This legislation, it doesn't apply at the high school and college level. Why? They openly admit that's not fair. It's not fair to allow Peter post-puberty to compete against inflatable Ingrid in a bra and panties wrestling match. Peter has an unfair physical advantage. Not only is he physically stronger, he also would not have to compete with the constraints of a brassiere. Poor Ingrid would be forced to wear both, while Peter only has to wear the thong. The Biden administration, they are pushing this garbage on children between kindergarten and 8th grade. According to Lia Thomas, this is a good start, but it's not enough. Yeah, I'm sure it's not enough. It is never enough with these people. They are never satisfied. They can normalize the transgender lifestyle with children, and the wanker spankers, they would start complaining about Roscoe's rights being trampled. My dog deserves the right to choose whether to hike his leg or squat to take a piss. Last night, Lia Thomas uploaded a video to Twitter. Just wait. Just wait until you see this new look, the new and improved Lia Thomas. The artist, formerly known as Will, praised the Biden administration for trying to take away states' rights. She then explained why this bill was not enough. Now, I apologize in advance, but I am going to play the entirety of this video. I encourage you to grab your woke hat so you can fully comprehend the woke boner words escaping the facial orifice of Lia Thomas. I would also encourage you to grab a pair of sunglasses, a strong pair, preferably a pair that darkens your vision. If you don't follow this recommendation, you will understand why I'm suggesting it. Okay, woke hat's ready. Are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, Behind the Line proudly presents to you our fearless leader, the charismatic cucumber, the purveyor of panted propellers, the pretend NCAA women's champion, the beacon of beautiful woke women, the woman who inspired Rachel Levine to enter the transition machine, the one, the only, Lia Thomas. Roll the bell.
My name is Lia Thomas. I'm a transgender woman, a former college swimmer, and the first trans athlete to be named Division I NCAA champion. I started swimming when I was 5 years old, and it has taught me so much. It has given me so many opportunities to learn, grow, develop, and connect with my peers. Opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't have access to athletics. That's why it breaks my heart to see trans kids across the country lose out on these opportunities. The Department of Education has proposed a new rule for Title IX regarding transgender athletes. This rule would prohibit blanket bans on transgender kids, especially in grades K through 8. However, it would not prohibit discrimination against trans kids in the high school and college levels under the guise of competitive fairness. This rule is a good start. However, it is not enough. During this time of intense anti-trans backlash, the trans community needs explicit protections from discrimination in order to live our lives freely and equally. Luckily, this rule is not final. We have a 30-day period to urge the Biden administration to amend the rule and grant equal protection for all transgender kids, because all trans kids deserve the opportunity to compete and play in the sports they love without compromising who they are. Join me in commenting on this proposed rule and demanding equal protection for all transgender athletes. All trans kids deserve the opportunity to be themselves.
I can completely understand why Lia Thomas rarely speaks in front of a camera. She spoke for less than 90 seconds, and there were at least, 5, 6, 7 edit points where she lost her train of thought. Now, I have edit points in my videos, but that's because I'm scrolling to the next page of my notes. This issue is important to Lia Thomas, and she can't make it through 90 seconds without pausing for breaks. I understand why the issue is important to Lia. I understand why she feels it's unfair that states are banning transgender athletes at the college level. If this was happening at this same time last year, we would have never heard of Lia Thomas. You can make the case Lia Thomas is actually responsible for this push to ban transgender athletes in sports competing against the gender they choose to identify with. Just because you wake up one morning and choose to identify as a woman doesn't mean you should be able to steal opportunities from real women like Riley Gaines. I often hear this false notion that there is an epidemic against people like Lia Thomas and Dylan Mulvaney. There is this hatred, there is this unnecessary violence against our community. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 weeks ago, when Riley Gaines was giving that speech at San Francisco State University, who was getting violent? The activists who support Riley Gaines or the activists who support Lia Thomas? Last month in Nashville, who was responsible for that? The innocent children, the innocent teachers, or the identifier whose identifier status was not allowed to be mentioned on CBS? When it comes to promoting this lifestyle, the mainstream media is very, very selective with who they choose to promote. I want you to think for a second. Name one female that transitioned to male and is promoted by the mainstream media. Name one female athlete who chose to compete against men and was promoted by the mainstream media. Can you think of one? They do exist, but you would never know they exist because the media chooses to ignore them. They only promote men who choose to identify as women. Why? Deacons at Woke United Methodist, they don't care about Lia Thomas. They don't care about Dylan Mulvaney. They don't care about transgender rights. They are being used by this movement to weaken men in this country. The deacons, they have been trying to weaken men for decades. It started with relationships between men and women. Women were encouraged to take on more leadership to lead the household. Men were encouraged to be silenced. They were pushed not to speak up. If you did speak up, you were accused of mansplaining. They have a negative label, a negative connotation for everything. Women, they were encouraged to make more money than their husband. You don't want to depend on no man. They claimed it balanced the power in the relationship. What it really did was destroy the natural dynamic. If you spoke out against it, you were accused of misogyny. They destroyed traditional gender roles. They made it seem wrong. They made it seem unnatural. Both me and my girlfriend, we're in the happiest relationship we've ever been in. Why? Because we both play our natural roles. The media would call this old-fashioned. They would say it's traditional, but it works. Society remained silent for decades as they slowly changed the gender roles between men and women. Look at the end result. We have reached a point where they are normalizing men becoming women. Like I said in the beginning, this controversy with Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, that is nothing but a smokescreen. It is a distraction. 5 years ago, the federal government, they would not think of allowing young men to compete athletically pretending to be young women. Today it all seems so normal, just another story in the news cycle. Some claim it's a non-issue because there aren't many transgender children at young ages, which that is true, but there aren't very many yet for now. It will happen if people continue to remain silent. But give me your thoughts. Lia Thomas pushes the Biden administration to strengthen their Title IX proposal. Why do you think this Title IX proposal is being mostly ignored by the mainstream media? Every major media outlet picked up the Dylan Mulvaney story. Very few are talking about this change to Title IX. You tell me why. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.